All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit. I'm Osmo, joined once again by Trump. We just saw Strife Grow take out Dart 3-0. We're about to move to the next matchup, Roger versus Weasel. Trump, we've seen a lot of 3-0s this weekend, between yesterday and of course the beginning of today. Do
My
you think it's
gosh, has it happened? Has it happened? Is Patron Warrior not the deck to bring anymore? We've got another player who hasn't brought it, and this would be so satisfying to see the two players not bring Warrior make it through.
yeah,
Not bringing Warrior obviously showcases a big part of preparation and just belief in yourself that everyone else is wrong.
yeah, it's been a little bit of a crazy thing, and yesterday we saw Soundstorm, who was one of the players that didn't bring Warrior, make it through. Today we might be seeing the same thing. Roger, though, he's been a player that's proven himself time and time again as being one of the best players in the world. Actually, he wins a lot of opens. He plays highly at a lot of premier tournaments. He's one of the front runners for BlizzCon points in the Taiwanese region. So he's definitely one of the players to watch here. Also, Roger is the only player in Group B who actually has things on the line with Geico points. If Roger finishes just top two in this tournament, he will qualify for the grand finals at PAX to compete for $25,000 as well as up to 100 World Championship points. There's 230 to give away, 100 for first place. So he's really going to want to come into this with a mindset to win.
That's right, and that's great. It's a lot easier to get top 50 percentile in this top four. I mean, still not easy, but a lot easier than having to do that and win the top four tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And we can see these players' lineups right now. Roger pretty much goes with the same lineup regardless of what type of tournament he plays in, whether it be an open, a feature. It seems like he's always playing Druid, Warlock, Warrior. And it's usually Patron, Handlock, mid range. It seems like he always plays the same lineup. He might switch things up, like he could throw in a Demon Zoo instead of the Handlock, but he's a player that really likes what he likes and really deviates from that. Weasel, we saw Weasel actually play in the qualifier on Thursday, and I'm trying to remember what he brought. One, yeah, he did bring Warrior. I'm 100% sure that he brought Warrior to that. So he's switching up his lineup, which I think is a good strategy because he played a lot of long, grueling series that went to two of his games went to fatigue. So players have seen all of his deck lineups. If they wanted to do the research, it's out there. So switching up his deck lineups is probably a smart thing for him.
Yeah, one of the big merits of Roger's lineup, and I certainly wouldn't mind just always bringing those three decks. The Warrior is 50-50 against Patron, probably, or better. The Warlock, if it's Handlock, like Roger is inclined to do, is favored against Patron. And the Druid is quite possibly, actually, to my slight surprise, it is favored against Patron. So it turns out that Weasel not bringing Patron Warrior is a very good decision against Roger.
Yeah, and again, probably coming down to that research. Roger, like I said, he doesn't really change much, and if you know him as a player, if you look at his past tournaments, he does tend to bring very similar decks. And I'm actually going to bring this up right now. I'm going to look at the Taiwanese region for the World Championship points, and I'm pretty sure Roger he's number one. Number one by 30 points. So that's just it sort of is a testament to his success in tournaments throughout the past year. Is he's 30 points ahead of the next front runner in the Taiwanese region, which is pretty stacked with players like Tom, who I believe Roger would actually knock out if he finished second. No, Tom is one of the players that's a front runner for. Oh no, yeah. So if Roger finishes in second place in this tournament, he would actually knock out Tom, who is actually sitting in fourth place right now in World Championship points from PAX, because Tom right now is second place in Geico points. So if Roger won, then he would get rid of the opportunity that Tom would have to pass him for World Championship points. So even more on the line for Roger. It's an interesting storyline there.
Yeah, Roger is one of the few names that I recognize that most people would recognize, I suppose, if they were to watch tournaments from the Eastern scene. He's cropped up in a lot of these tournaments, and it speaks to his prowess, especially since he's been participating in so many of the One Nation of Gamers Geico tournaments, and that's how you rack up so many Geico points. It's a very cool system where it doesn't just reward one good win, but consistent top finishes will pretty much guarantee that you make it in.
Yeah, really, really nice to have. And Roger was one of those players who didn't win, but like you said, consistently plays highly enough to make it to the feature. And now he definitely has a shot. Just going into a tournament and having to finish just top two to qualify for a premier tournament is a pretty big deal. So looks like Roger is going to throw out the what looks to be Patron Warrior first, but those are Control Warrior elements as well. So it could be Control Warrior. Weasel looks like it's going to be a Hunter for him thrown out first.
All right, look forward to seeing what type of hunter it is. If it's up against the hunter, I do like Roger's chances already. Two of the best cards in the matchup. One of the worst cards, which gets tossed for an Emperor. All right.
We did see Dart earlier, though, have Fire War Axe plus Armorsmith plus double Armorsmith in his opening hand and lose to Strife Cross Hunter. So
That's right. He was so close, though. And Roger's got the quote unquote teched in shield block. At this point, I want to call it standard, but if we were to talk just a week or two ago, the shield block would be a tech.
yeah, it's kind of funny. The lists are starting to approach each other, I suppose. At the beginning, there was a lot of different sort of tech cards thrown in. The Dread Corsair has all but phased out. There's still some players that run it, but it's not nearly
We've
as
got
popular as it
the
was.
exact same situation as Dart. Dart chose to play Fire War Axe. Let's see what Roger does. He also chooses to go Fire War Axe. Here you actually have a slightly different line too, because you can go Armorsmith, Inner Rage, but again with the Fiery.
Yeah, getting that weapon out, I suppose, is what both players seem to choose in exactly the same situation again, where Haunted Creeper is played on turn 2. So
Let's see
really
if,
interesting.
Roger takes the same line here because this is a bit of a different thing. Dart attacked it and played Armorsmith, but he didn't have the option to play a shield block.
Yeah, Dart was also on the coin. He coined out the Fire War Axe to deal with the turn 1 Leper Gnome, where Roger just played it sort of naturally with the 2 mana. Same line.
The lines are converging. I can't help but feel a little bit surprised. In this case, Weasel actually had the Abusive Sergeant, so it turns out that it's an extremely good call to not have played Armorsmith against the Leper Gnome. The payoff is so big if they don't have the Abusive, but I guess it just hurts so much if they do.
Yeah. Weasel actually has a pretty decent play here. He can Glaive Zuka, Armorsmith the spider that gets buffed, and just trade one of the spiders into the Armorsmith, which is one of the cleanest ways you'll find to deal with an Armorsmith in the early game. It would sort of ruin his curve a little bit with Powdered Shredder, but you're going into a Despite turn anyway. So
Oh no, that's perfect for the mana also. Just spend 3 mana on this turn, kill the Armorsmith in one shot. That seems really good. You're right in the sense that you strand the coin for a while, but seems really good. Looks like he's going to go for something that's a little bit sharper. This gets the extra knife onto that, and he was really hoping for it because then he gets to preserve his 1/1 as well. Getting the Knife Juggler out is better than getting a Glaive Zuka out. Though the trade-off comes on the point that Glaive Zuka would probably be better if the knife hadn't hit. So a little bit of a close 50-50 there, but Weasel gets the better of it.
Yeah, now Roger has to decide if he wants to spend the resources to Whirlwind plus Inner Rage, but it looks like he's going to wait a turn to try and deal with this. Could be a little bit risky. He's going to take a lot of damage, but right now he's sitting above 30 effective health.
Wow, that's a pretty brave play, considering that it seems like using 2 cards to get rid of what looks to be in like about 2 cards worth is pretty good. Roger may be reading Weasel as being a more aggressive deck than he actually is. Weasel actually has that Piloted Shredder and Loatheb, which are going to be very good against what Roger has coming up. Roger, though, pretty much has a hand that, like, this takes a lot of discipline to not clear the 6 damage that's coming into your face when you have the mana spare to do it. But by doing so, he's going to be able to kill the Shredder piece with the Slam as well.
Yeah.
And that Shredder would be hitting in for something like 4 a turn. So by taking the 6 this turn, you negate 4 repetitive damage in the future. So looks pretty good. And Weasel has felt safe enough to also get the Infiltrator. So man, Roger just baiting all day.
Yeah. And he's definitely going to be rewarded for this, as he has probably close to a full board clear. He's gonna he could slam this in a rage, raging on the knife juggler. The only thing he'll have to deal with is whatever comes out of the Piloted Shredder, which okay, Gilbin Stalker, Gilbin
slippery. Weasel definitely feeling a bit sad that he also spent the coin and the Worgen Infiltrator there. But at the end of the day, it's like a 2 damage swing.
Yeah.
I suppose. Could be more because Roger basically used his only Whirlwind effect, which means that Worgen Infiltrator might have been able to hit more than once.
Yeah, Weasel sort of made the read that there was no ways to deal with the board, but that was, like you said, just a great mate by Roger.
Despite that, though, despite Roger getting the maximum value out of that, essentially, he's still looking to be in a rough position because Weasel has curved out so well with spending his mana every single turn. Here, Weasel's got a choice of whether or not to kill off Emperor Thorsan. It is a pretty big threat, and usually one would kill command it. I guess he's thinking about whether or not he can Glaive Zuka and then possibly get the Gilbin Stalker to go in with the Glaive Zuka. But to some extent, you actually want to hold the 2/3, which can hit over time. So looks like he's just gonna silence and face. Makes sense as well.
Yeah, I think you're right with the. Well, you'd probably rather have the Glaive Zuka hit the Gilbin, because now it just gives more incentive for Roger to trade into the Loatheb. Where if he had spread out his power, that's sort of what you want, because it means that it's less concentrated, so it's tougher to remove all of the damage from the board. But Weasel has managed to put on some pressure, but this is usually the point of stabilization for the Patron Warrior player. He's got multiple ways to deal with this. Yeah,
that Patron is going to combo with the Whirlwind and the Execute.
And the Inner Rage. Really big swing turn.
That's right. This is the big deciding point on whether or not stabilization is possible, though. Because a doggy is going to, I believe, win the game. That's going to be 5, 10, 12.
Yeah.
A beast would be pretty close. That's not going to do it, though.
Yeah, but you sort of have to play it just to sort of stop the bleeding right now, and he sort of has to wait. And attacking with your weapon is smart here, just in case you pick up a weapon on your next turn. You need it to be able to get the most efficient damage out possible. So.
Yep. So at this point, Weasel is looking for just the finishing burn. He needs either doggies, he needs skill command, or he needs quick shot. Or he needs a charger.
Yeah, and
that could be quite a few cards.
Quickshot by itself would not be enough. He would need to kill command Quickshot into something else that did 3. Because Roger's at 9.
That's right.
So he needs a little bit more. Mad Scientist is not going to be it. So can he survive by kill commanding? No, he cannot. He's dead on board regardless with the 9 plus the 4 from Despite, even if he kill commands the Emperor. So looks like Roger is going to take game number 1. with the Patron Warrior. A little bit of a different story from what we saw in the first series between Strife Crow and Dart. Weasel just was not able to draw into the burn that he needed.
Right, and the big difference there is Strifecrow finished with exact damage, and he had a little bit more of an aggressive start, whereas Roger actually had a shield block. That's pretty important as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because that did make a difference. Imagine if he had 5 less health at the end there. He would have been at 4 as opposed to 9, which he would have been dead. So shield block ends up being uh, the MVP in that matchup. So
No, I think the
Roger,
MVP was Roger just holding off on that whirlwind for a turn. I think a lot of players would have just whirlwinded and enraged.
yeah, that's true.
And Weasel also had a chance for some counterplay. He didn't have to play the Worgen Infiltrator.
Hmm.
If he had held onto it, seeing that his board was very good already, that Worgen Infiltrator might have represented 4 damage.
Yeah.
So small plays from either side definitely swing the matchup in one direction or another. Just those small percentage point plays, they add up.
Yeah, so are going to move into game number 2 of the series. Weasel's going to throw out the Hunter once again, and Roger's going to switch over to the Druid. And this is sort of, I don't want to say Roger's signature deck, but it is the deck that Roger brings the most, I'd say, to tournament settings. A lot of the time when these players really hold on to Druid as being a top tier pick, it sort of fell out in the West for a while. In North America and Europe, a lot of players weren't bringing Druid for a while. Warrior, Warlock, Hunter was the standard lineup for most players going into Conquest formats, but the time when these players held on to Druid, and now it's even starting to coming back in the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's Druid is a deceptive deck. It looks so inconsistent because you're really looking for that wild growth, and yet you can. I guess what it just represents is you win a much greater amount of time when you do have the wild growth, and even if you don't, you can still win a good amount of the time. Coin wild growth seems like a peculiar choice, but I guess Roger is planning to do the exact curve of Wrath into Shredder into Belcher. Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, This is one of those matchups where you can afford to play off curve because you just want to get the wild growth out as quick as possible because there might not be an opportunity for you to play it ever again. If you had waited this turn, you would have had to have the option of wild growthing or wrathing, and leaving an Electric on the board is not an option. So this is one of those matchups where you really need to just get the wild growth out in any way possible because otherwise you won't have an opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. Oink.
Now this curve is a little messed up. The keeper.
That's
That
really
makes
good.
it a little better.
Yeah, this is the MVP card in this matchup. That keeper. It puts up a threat which can deal with 2 of the hunter's threats, and it immediately deals with a threat. And the threat it dealt with was like a huge threat too. A hopper that early.
Yeah.
A lot of the momentum of Weasel just got sapped.
Yeah. These two players have really different styles. Weasel's a very sort of methodical player. He takes a long time in his turns. As you can see, he ropes a lot. He really thinks over his turns. Roger, he's sort of like Soundstorm in the fact that he's sort of a very instinctive player. He doesn't play quite as fast as Soundstorm, but he does play very quickly. Usually his first thought, like his initial reaction to a play is the one that he usually decides to go with.
Yeah,
And
I mean, to some point you can call it instinctive, or on the other hand, you can call it very well trained. I think, like you mentioned, Roger brings this deck to tournaments a lot, and he plays it a lot. So,
he knows what he's looking
I
for.
think, yeah, especially with Druid, they don't have quite as many branching possibilities as other decks. So, it is one of those decks that you can feel very confident on playing once you've played it enough.
Yeah. And Weasel decides to throw out the Mad Scientist and pairs it up with the Freezing Trap as well. So we'll have to see if he's going to double up on traps. Roger, I think, thinking over whether or not he wants to try and ruin the value of that Mad Scientist by swiping and trying to trade in, but playing Sludge Belcher
I'm
seems like the
surprised at
better
the no
option.
attack. Okay, I guess I'm not too surprised. Like you mentioned, if the mad scientist is dead, that secret could get duplicated. That's a pretty sharp play. Because on the other hand, it seems like the Keeper of the Grove, no matter what secret that is, that would be a really good secret to just activate. But
Yeah.
Roger going for the bonus play here of making sure that that secret possibly doesn't get a second one.
Yep. Ooh, Force of Nature. Force of Nature is one of the best cards you can use to proc traps. So, um, yeah, see, this is a really smart play. By holding on last turn, Roger opens up the opportunity to try and sort of negate the value of the Mad Scientist, and he does get it. So he realizes the hand is empty. Freezing Trap is the trap, so he can deduct that the only trap in Weasel's deck is Freezing Trap. So that's a really great piece of information. And Weasel gets the second Freezing Trap off the top, so Roger knows that this is freezing based off his line of play in the last couple turns.
That was such a sharp line of play. Being able to get that, well, first of all, it basically denied Weasel a draw. So Weasel was forced to draw into this pretty much terrible card. Secondly, he managed to just deny Weasel the card from the Mad Scientist anyways. So that is a
Ooh.
really sharp play.
And what a draw from Weasel. Getting the quick shot off the top from an empty hand. And the kill command, pushing
Oof.
the damage. The one thing, though, is this Ancient of Lore was played, so it's going to get bounced back to the hand. And that means that he's going to have that heal. But Roger is now sitting at 6 health.
Oh, the Innervate allows him to play the Ancient of Lore again immediately. This is a close stabilization point, and man, Rogers is making all these small plays, which are probably going to end up mattering. This game could easily have been lost if he had broken the freezing trap and Weasel had gotten another draw.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like he's actually going to swipe this turn, play the Powder Shredder. I'd imagine he'd innervate out of Hero Power as well, because he's actually setting up for lethal the next turn. Combo would be 1 over lethal with double Powder Shred on the board. It'd be 26 damage. So this is Rogers just played this game pretty spectacularly, I'd say.
All right,
And
phenomenal.
that is gonna do it with the line of play that he's taken. Force of Nature, Savage Roar is going to be lethal. So Roger is going to take a quick 2-0 lead in the series, and Trump once again, we're going down that path. It's getting close to a 3-0 again.
Well, Rogers is playing so well. I'm actually really impressed. Um, this could easily be 2-0 the other direction. Like, that's probably important to state, but Roger has, at key points, played the turn spectacularly well, which has caused him to win the game as a result. These are like, there's some games where you can't win no matter what you do. There's some games you can't lose no matter what you do. But both of those games were like up in the air, and Rogers made the right decision each point. So Weasel Hunter for the third time in a row. This is its best matchup in Warlock Handlock.
Yep, and Roger once again, that lineup, same lineup that he always runs. It's kind of funny that he usually goes for the same lineup, yet people don't really try and hard counter him when they know they'll be matched with him. I guess Weasel's sort of the closest to doing so because, like you said, this could go 2-0 back the other way. Weasel does have pretty strong decks against Handlock, with having Hunter, a fast Hunter, with having a Druid, and a Warlock of his own, which, if it's Handlock, I mean, that's just an even matchup. It could go either way at that point.
Yeah, you could actually say that Weasel did attempt to counter to some extent. He didn't bring a Patron Warrior, and that is the deck that Rogers' lineup specifically does the best against.
The turn 2 Ancient Watcher.
It's pretty good. Rogers' hand is very durable here. Uh, turn 3, Sun Fury. Turn 4, who knows? Turn 5, you've got 16 points of healing. That's cheating.
That is. Oh, man. All right. Roger's got Golden Warlock on NA. He plays it on the NA servers quite frequently, I think. It might even be EU. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the feature tournament works since it's a mixture. I think they can just pick the servers that they play on, depending on what both players have the most cards on.
Hmm. This is gonna. This is kind of the dream when you're handlocked against Hunter. You get the Ancient Watcher, you taunt it early, or you owl it early. One of the different directions that handlock can go is just to play out their cards actually surprisingly quickly. Yesterday we saw a 4/5 Twilight Drake, and we're like, oh, that's one of the weakest Twilight Drakes ever. And that was when going second even. Probably going to see a 4/5 Twilight Drake yet again.
Yeah, looks like it. And Weasel looks like he wants to push through here with these two dogs, which I like that play because it lines up. If turn 4 Twilight Drake is played, he can owl and kill off the Twilight Drake with one of the dogs, so he sort of like spreads the power across the board. I'm not sure if that's going to be his line of play, but it seems like getting the additional power is really strong.
He has the owl for the Twilight Drake. That was immediately his inclination. Makes sense. It matches with the Creeper in terms of mana. He could also coin out the Eaglehorn Bow. Depends on how quickly he wants to play this matchup.
He has put on some pressure, but once again, like you said, 16 points of heal is cheat. How many taps is he going to be able to fit in, though? He needs to start tapping, though, because, yeah, all the points of heal in the world are going to be good, but unless you draw into your own threats, you got to sort of put the hunter on a clock eventually. I mean, I suppose Molten Giants are going to be good probably regardless, but he needs to start drawing through his deck to get to those.
Yeah. Weasel, like you said, kind of methodical. That was actually not an easy turn. Even seeing both hands, it's difficult to determine whether the Creeper or the Bow is the better play. Bow to clear the Sun Fury. If you save the Bow, you get a higher chance of getting a 3-charge Bow with the Freezing Trap. You get the coin. You get to save the coin if you play the Creeper, and it doesn't look like the Sun Fury manages to get any great trade. Roger's side, you do feel some pressure to tap, but you also feel some pressure to just play on curve and play Healbot. But you also feel some pressure to not heal yet because you could draw into Molten Giant. So it seems like it's the main consideration would be Watcher tap versus anti-Killbot here. It goes with the more, I'm not going to call it greedy, but the more, I suppose, long-term oriented strategy.
Yeah. Which I think could end up being the right line of play here. Does have both owls. Owl's a fantastic card against Hunter because it gets rid of, helps you get rid of things like Haunted Creeper more easily, Mad Scientist as well. It's a lot of things
One of
in the
those
early game time.
interesting times where the Lotheb does absolutely nothing since Roger's hand is all minions. That can happen every so often. So Roger here again has a choice.
Silence
Can do
Defender
the Owl
Vargas.
Defender. That's a really strong choice. I'd be a little bit surprised. No, I guess not that surprised. If he does it on the Ancient Watcher right now, he can just immediately take the guaranteed 5/5, 5/6 into the 5/5 trade with the Defender of Argus. If he does this play, he ensures that the 5/6 stays around, but it's a little less certain on whether or not it'll get value. If you owl the Creeper, though, you guaranteed get rid of 2/1/1s. So you can see that this is a pretty difficult choice that Roger is deciding between.
Yeah. All right.
Goes for it, decides that there's not much that can hit a 5/6. That can kill it, that can punish him.
And if you silence it, it can just attack.
That's right.
So you don't want to do that. It doesn't have an owl anyway, and this is actually pretty tough to get through. He's going to have to take some damage regardless. I mean, I guess health is sort of your greatest resource early on as a hunter in this matchup because you'd rather trade your face damage for their face damage any day. You could Eagle Horn Bow down. Oh, yeah.
When I
Eagle
see
Horn Bow down
Weasel's
me.
hand, I can't help but realize just how astute Roger's play is. I think I personally would have silenced my Watcher just because I'm really inclined to trade off into the 5/5. But looking at Weasel's hand, there's nothing that can punish, and when I truly think about it, there's not much that really could punish Roger here.
Yeah. Looks like he's just going to have to, like, trade his board in. He can hold on to the Lotheb and hopefully push through the next turn, which looks like is going to be the play because he's going to try and get these juggles off. But that's a tough call to make. Really tough call to make.
Yep. Also a tough call for Weasel to play the freezing trap into the Defender of Argus, but he is hoping to get that bow charge.
Yeah. So Roger here can sort of threaten to proc the freezing trap by playing an anti-heal bot and just passing. He can like play anti-heal bot and tap, and then all of a sudden Weasel's in a position where he has to kill the anti-heal bot or also to get freezing trap back to the hand, which will represent too much heal for him to deal with. Which I really like that play.
Yeah, another very disciplined and calculated play by Roger. The Defender of Argus return is pretty good, but Roger goes for a play that's even better. Debatably on this one, because he doesn't have any taunt givers, so it might have been pretty nice to have the taunt option.
Yeah, and of course we have to remember last game, Roger knows that Weasel only runs double freezing because
Yeah,
he
very
killed a
key
mad
piece of
scientist on an
information.
empty hand, yeah. This is still a scary board, though.
It's definitely building up, and the 1 mana that Weasel has given Roger isn't nothing either, even though Roger was already at 7. For example, that speeds into Lord Draxus, not that Roger would ever do that, but opens up some lines of play like a 5 and the owl and a tap.
Alright, he's still going to be able to connect 9 damage this turn. So that's a pretty big play for Weasel, being able to clear through that. And now Roger's in a bit of a pickle. This is one of the reasons why the matchup is a little rough, because sometimes hunters just can put on so much damage. He's healed for 8 already with one of the heal bots. And he's still at 15, staring at a board of 13 damage.
Right, this is really tricky because there isn't any point to healing if the damage is escalating like this. But Roger, I don't want to say is forced to. Usually you would rather play the taunt instead of the heal because the taunt is a bigger threat. This is something that, especially since the opponent is at this point just top decking and doesn't necessarily have an answer for a better long term. Did he just? Whoa! Why did he silence that one? Oh my gosh! I wonder if he's purposely not silencing the shredder in order to go for like some. He realizes it's so grim that he needs to pop the shredder.
Wow.
Roger is. That's insane.
It's next level. And the high man off the top is pretty much going to lock
I want to
Roger
see
out of
the
the game.
reward. I want to see the Doomsayer so badly. I'm rooting for Roger. That play was insane. Or did he misclick? Who knows?
It looked like I mean, it looked like he was just straight up going for the Arcane Golem. Yeah, who knows? But that's crazy if that's what the play was. I mean, he could just.
I'm bewildered.
I think there's more chance for him to just get punished for it. Whoa! Leok makes things really difficult.
It does. Most of the animal companions have been good there. But Leok especially, I guess not so much because Weasel always could have used the high main, and he might still do so anyways. Weasel's in the back of his head, like, why didn't he silence my shredder? Oh no, am I falling for his trap? Oh, I'm good.
Well, it's not a Doomsayer.
And no AoE, no Moltons. He's got to tap. Get a better answer than this somehow.
I don't think there's a better answer. I think he's dead.
It's the best card you could draw, but see if that's enough. You can kill the Leok, and that actually might be enough. The Sorcerer's Apprentice goes into the heal bot, and yeah, Roger stays alive.
It is
Roger
enough.
stays alive. He plays the Jiraxes next turn, goes up to 15, but still, well, the opponent's gonna lose his entire board. We're still on.
Yeah, and he can't afford to just leave this Molten Giant up because he's at 18. All of a sudden, something like Dark Bomb will just kill him. So he's got to trade in here. And
Gosh,
yeah,
I think Roger's favored.
that's crazy. And with Mad Scientist played, he knows it's a freezing trap. He might be able to find an opportunity where he can bounce back Defender Vargas. So at 2 health, he's going to use Diraxis. In a Molten Giant!
Oh my gosh.
Wow, what a turnaround. And Weasel's got an empty hand, and he's realizing...
Okay. I thought he really wanted to kill the Mad Scientist, and then this clears more stuff from the board. Okay, it does make sense.
Yeah, he clears both beasts off this way, which is...
Yeah, that's a
could
big
be
deal.
a big deal in the long run.
It would have been very tempting to immediately return the Defender Vargas, because then he could taunt the Molten Giant. But this does get the extra 2 attack off the board. And Weasel is just distraught here. That's back-to-back Molten Giants.
Yeah, and at this point, he sort of has to kill the Defender Vargas because he can't afford to leave it up for a taunt. Worgen Infiltrator is not a very impactful card. He can put him at 6, but he's going to need direct damage.
Yeah, this is actually a tough call from Weasel. Does he hit the face, or does he hit the Defender Vargas? If he hits the Defender Vargas, he can kind of... In his mind, he should be able to play out that that's going to be taunt and there's going to be no more damage. So I think it's correct to hit that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's so hard as a hunter to see the opponent just 8 and be like, oh, I have to hit this instead of
It gives
face.
him more outs for lethal, I think. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a way for Weasel to win because Roger, all he has to do is play Lothar next turn. And then it gets rid of... How much damage is that? Not enough. Okay. But, yeah, he could just play Lothar. And probably... And, wow, I'm surprised... Okay, yeah, that's still good, because he's still not dead to Unleash. With Unleash, it'd be 3 Hounds, plus 2 from the Worgen Infiltrator, plus 2 from the Hero Power, would only be 7. So, he's still okay by having 3 creatures. So Lotheb will lock him out of being able to do something like Quick Shot into Unleash. So I think that's going to lock out the game. I can't think of anything that Weasel can draw into that's going to win him it. Arcane Golem would be one.
Right. Or quick shot into damage. I think those are it.
Well, he can't.
Oh, right, Lothar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well,
Quick,
quick
shot into...
nothing,
3,
no.
2...
Something for 3 mana.
Into Abusive. That would work.
Yeah, quick shot into Abusive, yep, because he would have exactly 10 mana to be able to do that. What is he...
But either way, we can definitely see that Weasel has a very small chance of winning, only.
He
And
didn't
that's
attack.
not going to do it. Wow, Roger pulls yet another victory out of pretty much thin air.
I want to know why Roger didn't attack with the Molten.
Has the second freezing trap been played? It has been.
Yeah, both freezing traps.
Right, because one of the reasons not to attack would be, say, your opponent can't draw the second one, but yeah, it has been played. Oh, no, of course, you don't attack with the Molten, because you can't replay it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because he had freezing trap up. We just couldn't see the secret. I forgot about that. The freezing trap was still up.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. Yeah, that was a smart play in the end. Just we couldn't see the secret. So Roger takes a 3-0 victory, the second 3-0 of the day, the
Wow.
5th 3-0 of the weekend. So we broadcasted 7 matches so far between yesterday and today. 5 of those 7 matches have been 3-0 victories. on one side or another. So Roger going to move on to the winners match 3-0. What an impressive performance by him. I was really impressed by some of those plays that he made.
Yeah, I mean, this I'm astounded. That was some of the best play I've actually seen. And I wouldn't have been surprised if it had been 0-3 the other way. A different line of play could easily have made it that way. So hats off to Roger. You can see why he's the best player in the Taiwanese region at the moment.
Yeah. 30 points ahead of the next person in line with him in World
But you
Championship
know
points.
what? I want to know whether or not silencing the Shredder is a purposeful move. The it's not like the Arcane Golem was buffed, then I just missed it, right? It wasn't +1. I don't think so.
Nope, wasn't. It was just a good
It
old
was either a
arcane
brilliant
golem.
play or
Maybe he
a
thought that.
terrible play.
Maybe he
I don't
thought
know.
that he would. Uh, I don't know. Who knows? I have no idea. Maybe it was sort of like that emergency. Like if it really gets bad, I have a small chance of getting something out of this piloted shredder. I mean, in the end, it didn't matter because he won anyway. But what a what an interesting play. Next level, if that's what he was going for. But we'll try and see if we can
Yep.
ask him during the break. But next up is going to be, I believe, the winners match. So that's going to be between Roger and Strife Crow. And of course, after that, we'll have the losers match followed by the final elimination match of the day. So 3 matches left, guys. Keep in mind, we're still doing the official TSM PC giveaway. So if you want to enter in to win that, head over to geico.onog.gg. Also on that website, you can get a Geico quote as well as just get all the information about the tournament. We are going to go to a quick 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere, guys. More Summer Circuit action continues right after this.